Good evening, everyone. My name is Matt Brownlee on behalf of the American Musicological Society. I'd like to welcome you all to Visions of Afrofuturism from the 1970s, featuring Damon Locks and members of Black Monument Ensemble. This special evening is presented by the AMS's newest venture, the Many Musics of America Project, which has been made possible with generous support from the National Endowment for the Humanities. The Many Musics of America brings scholars, musicians, and audiences together to explore the vast tapestries of stories in American musical life. In addition to tonight's presentation, we have an exciting calendar of events to come all around the country, as well as a rich library of online content that all music enthusiasts will love. I'd like to personally invite all of you to check out our website, musicsofamerica.org. There you'll find recordings of live events, special digital content, and the Music Means blog, where music scholars contribute excellent work about American musical traditions written for a public audience. As Special Projects Coordinator at the AMS, I'm beyond excited to share this event series with you and look forward to seeing many of you at Many Musics of America events in the future. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Damon Locks and Black Monument Ensemble. Damon Locks is a Chicago-based visual artist, educator, and vocalist musician. Since 2014, he has been working with the Prison and Neighborhood Arts Project at Stateville Correctional Center teaching art. He's teaching art there. He currently teaches improvisation in the sound department at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, leads the Black Monument Ensemble, is a member of New Future City Radio and Exploding Star Orchestra, and he co-founded the band The Eternals. Black Monument Ensemble is a vibrant collection of artists, musicians, singers, and dancers making work with common goals of joy, compassion, and intention. Galvanized by Locke's vision, the contributors represent the richness and diversity of Black artistic excellence in Chicago. Now please join me in welcoming Damon Locks and members of Black Monument Ensemble.
That was Dana Hall, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Sometimes I have a tendency of wanting to set a vibe at the beginning of a talk because you gotta have a vibe, you know? So I'd like to start off with a vibe and feel out the room, try to figure out what's gonna happen. And so what's gonna happen tonight is there's gonna be a little bit of talking, there's gonna be a little bit of music, there's gonna be a little bit of records, there's gonna be some video. We're gonna mix it up a little bit. Also, the subject for this talk, it was announced that it was the 70s, Afrofuturism, some Sun Ra up in there. I think we're gonna touch on all those things. I think that when I think about Afrofuturism, I don't know if I think about it in the same way other people think about it. I'm not sure. I haven't done the survey. But when I think about Afrofuturism, I think about the fact that, black people always like space, you know? In the 60s, Star Trek, Twilight Zone, everybody was talking about space, Black people are no different, I just think that Afrofuturism is a lens in which to look at something, look at history, look at life. And I think in many ways, I think of Afrofuturism as, like a search for community. Because when I think about what Sun Ra was doing, he was really just reaching out to create community. So my talk today it's in honor of creating community. So I will start where this thing that you see began. And it began when I quit my job. That's right, thank you. I was working as a music publicist, which means that I set up interviews for artists and set up television shows and photo shoots, that sort of thing. And I wasn't happy at the end of that. I think I was spending a little bit too much time focusing on other people's work and not focusing on my own work. And I decided it was time to quit my job. You know, lighting person, I'm gonna start wandering around, so I'm gonna give you some work, you know what I mean? It's hard for me to stand behind this table, sorry, stand behind the door. So just keeping the lighting person, oh, yeah, look at that. But if I go here, they can't do it, right? Okay, so yeah, I thought, how do I, like, what is it like to be an artist full time? What is it like to make music? What is it like to make visual work? And what does it look like to be an artist? There was like a hypothetical. I think that everyone has a hypothetical about what an artist is. And I think that hypothetical is somewhere around this. You go into your studio, you make a bunch of work, and then you open the doors and people are supposed to love it. And I thought to myself, that doesn't even sound realistic. Who came up with that idea? So after I quit my job and I was sitting in an apartment on Belmont Avenue, looking out onto Belmont Avenue near Belmont, Sacramento, I thought, I think that my work needs to be in connection with community. That's what I was interested in. And some North Stars that I had were Emory Douglas was a North Star. Emory Douglas and I'd say Kerry James Marshall were North Stars for me. And in case you are unfamiliar, I did the work. I made a plan, you see, because I'm doing a talk. So I figured out I would show some images. So Emory Douglas was the artist for the Black Panther newspaper. And what fascinated me about his work was he made work, it went into a newspaper, and there was a community there that was absorbing the information every time a newspaper came out. He was not putting stuff in places where it was inaccessible to the community that he wanted to reach. He was making the work and delivering it directly to the people. And I was fascinated by that. And I thought, is there an equivalent here? Is there an equivalent now? What does that look like? Do I make work that goes on buses? Like, what do I do? How do I do that? And someone told me, a friend of mine, Damon Davis, told me that he had a chance to talk to Emory Douglas once and said, how did you come to be the artist for the Black Panther newspaper? And Emory Douglas had said, we were in a meeting and I was the only artist in the room. And I thought, okay, all right, this is deep. You know, like, he had to be present. He had to step up. And I thought, okay, let's step up. Let me do this, you know? And the other artist that was, as I mentioned, was Kerry James Marshall. Now, Kerry James Marshall, look, the system is working. It's amazing. I don't want to jinx myself, though. So Kerry James Marshall is an artist, Chicago painter, if you're not familiar. And Kerry James Marshall does amazing work. I like to call Kerry James Marshall the Sidney Poitier of painting, because you gotta be really racist not to like Kerry James Marshall's paintings, you know. But Kerry James he realized in the canon of art, from the European canon, the American canon, there were no great black masters of American painting. And Kerry James Marshall said, I'm going to do that. And set to analyze what was in the canon and then create work that was distinctly black, but in order to enter the canon, and he did. And I remember him saying, in order to do the work, you have to bring the tools to the job you intend to do. If you're going to be a football player, you're not going to bring a baseball bat. So he chose large-scale painting in order to tackle this. And so with those two kind of iconic artists, those were the first things that I was thinking about looking out my window on Belmont in Sacramento. By the way, there's I can't remember what year it was, but there was an amazing Kerry James Marshall exhibition called Mastery at the MCA, and I was invited to the opening party. I think that was the day that Prince passed away. But I was invited to the opening, and I thought, what if I just kept coming? What if I just kept coming to see the show? What would that be like? I've seen the show twice before, but what if I didn't have a job, I quit my job. I went to that show 15 times. I think I did some tours for some teachers. I'll meet you there, did tours. So those are the two people I was mostly thinking about. And I will say, as an aside, I was also thinking about Chris Ware. Chris Ware is a Chicago comic artist, and his output was so intense. I was like, if I work 10 times as hard as I am right now, I'll be doing 1/3 the amount of work that Chris Ware does. So those are the people I had in my back pocket. But trying to figure out what community meant and what it means. And so when trying to make work, I started working in mediums of digital mediums, digital photography, collage, drawing, mixing it all out, printing it out, and people would look at it and go, that looks civil rightsy. And I'd be like, okay, cool, I guess I got the look down, But my issue was, I personally knew that it didn't have content. I think it was surface level. And I figured out that I needed to know more in order for my work to get stronger. I could make work that looks exactly the same, but if I knew more, it would inherently have more built in. So I worked towards this idea of community. So I called up some friends who were teachers. I said, hey, can I come to your school? Can I get into a classroom? And my friend Cecily, who was teaching at the Young Women's Leadership Charter School, mostly black and brown young ladies, and I started going there, visiting the school, talking to the students, and I started making work based around that. They did some double Dutch. I did this double Dutch photo collage pieces. They were fire. They were nice. They were good. And I was starting to get someplace towards this idea of community. The double Dutch pieces were, I was like, oh, this is one, oh, all right, I'm getting there. But I also didn't know what it was supposed to do. There was some aspect of being like, this is a nice image, but what is it doing, So I had been doing a lot of, I hope you don't mind, I'm gonna talk a lot. Okay. I'm sorry, I feel bad. I should let y'all talk. But, is that weird? Is that, I'm supposed to be talking. I'm supposed to be talking. Okay, thank you. Okay, I got you. All right, so I didn't know what it was doing, what the artwork was doing, I thought maybe this image is a great image, but maybe it needs a story to go with it. Maybe it needs to be connected to something else. I was doing a lot of album cover images for work. I forgot to mention when I quit my job, it was 2007, 2008, and then the economy crashed, and I was living in my friend's basement, and yeah, there she is. And Actually, we put on my first show together in 2010, I think it was. And I had those double Dutch pieces in the show. But that was when I was like, I'm gonna show some work. I showed like 28 pieces. Never doing that again. Anyway, so that work was drying up, doing the record covers, because the economy wasn't happening, like labels were doing them in-house, that sort of thing. And so I decided to make it harder for myself and say that I would only do illustration work that was in line with the politic that I was interested in. And so that was like limiting myself even more, because I was trying to figure out what it looked like to be an artist. Like, what do you do? I had examples of people that were doing a lot of street art that I thought was cool, but that wasn't who I was. There was a lot of artists that were like designing sneakers and making Japanese dolls, and that was not who I was. So I had to figure out who I was and what the art I was gonna make was. And so, making work, doing work, and I got luckily enough, someone connected me to a film called The Interrupters, which was a documentary about an organization on the south side of Chicago that was interrupting violence. And I think it was Jay Ryan suggested me as a artist that could do the movie poster for it. And it was an incredible project. I loved the film, and it was great. And the editor picked me up. We drove to a bunch of the sites where the film was centered on. I made this poster, and I felt really connected to the work, and I was like, cool, I want to do this is good. Around that time, the Experimental Sound Studio reached out to me about responding to this archive of Sun Ra material, and they were commissioning artists to make work based on this archive of 400 hours of Sun Ra recordings that were unearthed by John, or just salvaged by you and John, or just John, you? John, okay. I have help here in the front row. And so originally I was asked to do some visual work based on that, but then my friend Terry, who's in the front row, also said, hey, do you want to respond to this work with me? And so we started on a project that started off as an audio project, where we were listening to the Sun Ra work and responding in ways that we thought were appropriate, like in small chapters that would become like a radio program that the idea was like maybe we would broadcast it, maybe it would be a pirate radio thing. And we made this, along with Wayne Montana, we made like a 17-minute long audio piece. And at the 12th hour, the 11th hour, I reached out to an animator, Rob Shaw, and asked him if he wanted to animate it. And he said yes, and he knocked it out the park, and we made a 17-minute long animation piece based on Sun Ra. The Interrupters poster was done, and I felt a little bit like, and some of those double Dutch pieces had morphed into responses to the Sun Ra archive, visual archive as well. I felt, okay, I'm starting to get my footing. And as a result of the Interrupters movie poster, someone said, oh, you should talk to the Center for Urban Pedagogy. They're in New York. They do a lot of cool, interesting work. So I looked up the Center for Urban Pedagogy. Don't worry, it gets more exciting. I'm just saying the groundwork. But in a couple minutes, it's gonna be like bam, 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 woo! They said, reach out to them. They were doing this thing called Making Policy Public, where they take difficult public policy and they make these posters out of them. So I reached out to them. I saw that they were doing this thing on domestic workers. I asked them to fly me to New York. I designed this image on domestic workers. It taught me a lot. It was really wonderful. They made the piece. People were really, when they released it, they sent me pictures and people were seeing themselves in the images. And it really made me feel connected. It reminded me of Emory Douglas, where I was like, oh, I made a thing, and then went directly to the people that were affected by it. I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. But still trying to figure it out. And someone said, well, there's a domestic workers piece exhibition at the Jane Addams Hull House Museum. Do you know anything about that? I said, no. And they said, well, I'm gonna introduce you. So I went to the Jane Addams Hull House Museum, saw the whole piece, met a woman named Heather Radke, who was the curator there. And 6 months later, Heather Radke reached out to me and said, would you like to do a piece? Would you like to work with us in collaboration with the Prison and Neighborhood Arts and Education Project on the themes of freedom, time, and play? So we have two people, Sarah Ross and Foresta Tusi, are right now at Stateville with a class of maximum security men working on these themes. Would you like to pick up on that next semester? And whatever you teach around those themes will go in the exhibition. I said, okay, let me think of this. Teaching class, maximum security men's prison. And then I was like, okay, this is intimidating, but it sounds a little bit like community, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, this is access to something that most artists don't get access to. Okay, I'll do it. Excuse me. They also said, cool, what would you like to do? I was like, okay, what would I like to do? What would you do? And I said, I'm gonna do an animation project. They were like, great, this is fantastic. So just, you'll work in prison, you'll teach a class, you'll do an animation project, we'll put it in the exhibition. Great. I was like, yes, great. The only catch is, I never taught a class before in my life, never been to a maximum security prison, and I'm not an animator. Besides that, I was good. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so I always tell that joke, but it always works, so it's good. I'm starting to feel bad. We have to make a new joke. But, so I decided I would go, I think Ryan's here. Is Sarah here, Ryan? Ugh, can't believe it. You tell her I called her name out, and a spotlight went around looking for her for like 15 or 20 minutes. Tell her that, okay? And then they had my face on a camera up on the thing, and there was one tear. Okay, you tell her that, okay? So Sarah ran the program at the time, and Sarah and Foresta were teaching class, and I said, hey, can I go into the prison before I have to teach so I can see what it was like? And they said, sure, and they arranged it, and I was a little nervous, I only knew about prisons from what you see in movies. And at Stateville, you have to go through about 4 or 5 gates to get in. So, you say your name, you give them all your information. Gate! You go through a gate, that gate closes behind you, you see the next guard, give the information. Gate! You go through the gate, they shut the gate, And I was walking down the hall, and I would see guards with guys in chains, like walking down the hall towards you. Started to get a little nervous, but what happened was, the guy would look over at me and say, how you doing? I'm like, hey, how you doing? They're like, what you doing, teaching a class? I'm like, yeah. And they were like, what class? I said, art. And they're like, cool, I'll keep my eye out for it. I was like, next semester. And they're like, cool. And so, another thing I noticed about going in is, to me, Stateville looked like it was 90% black men incarcerated. And not only that, it looked like 90% black people working at Stateville. So for me, this was hit me like a ton of bricks. I taught that semester, had an amazing semester. When people talk about a transformative experience, this was literally a transformative experience. I think that my life has been changed since that first semester. The guys, 11 guys that were in that class, whose life sentences, no parole, and because of the way laws are set up, some of them, most of them are serving sentences that they will never live long enough to serve the sentence. So with a group of like 11 guys, I think we added it up and it was like 700 years, you know? And when thinking about freedom, time, and play, I had them write about those things. And the animation project that we did, I talked to my friend, professional animator Rob Shaw, who worked on the Sun Ra piece. Rob said, "Look, you can do this." And I said, "Okay, but I don't have like a light table. I don't have a camera. I don't have computers. I just have to figure out how to do this like with none of those things." And he said, "Take tracing paper and a pencil. 100 frames of animation a piece. Take a piece, draw on it, put an X on the bottom, put a number on the bottom, take the next piece, line it up, put an X there for registration, and put number 2 on that, and just continue to do that over and over again." So they wrote about freedom and time. Only one person touched on play. They were like open and honest with these ideas. And we had conversations about the prospect of living the rest of your life in prison. And so, while this is happening, we're also experiencing Eric Garner and Mike Brown and Tamir Rice and Freddie Gray. And I'm going into prison, seeing the justice system up close, seeing how we as a society deal with harm, and then I'm walking out and another black person is murdered in a kind of a public fashion. And I will say, also the levees broke, I believe that year. And I remember, or earlier than that, not that year, but earlier. I remember going home on my last day in prison, of that semester, sorry. And I turned on the TV and there was a documentary on the levees breaking. And there was a shot of, like a helicopter shot of all these people like on makeshift rafts and stuff looking up, and I just was bawling. And the only thing I could figure out is that going into prison broke my heart. And I think that it's not going to heal. Like, that's not a broken heart that's going to get better. And so I cry all the time now. No problem. I cry in planes, but I think everyone does that too. You know? So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show you the animation project that we made called Freedom Time. Hold on. This thing that you were looking at before you came in, also made in collaboration with Rob Shaw. My drawings. Okay. Ryan, you tell Sarah what you missed. Okay, here we go. We tested this earlier. Thank you. Please welcome to the stage Dana Hall, Eva Supreme, Monique Golding, and Tremaine Parker. Angel Bat Dawud and Baredu Ahmed up.
Love, 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 love,
We go about it the way you go about daily work. First of all, you decide what you want. You establish your values and you start to live it. Mm-hmm. And the people in your community, you start talking to your neighbors. You get yourself together first. Exactly. Then you get your community together. We're in agreement. Then you get your neighbors together. We're in agreement.
darkness and gray seeps into the soul, so bring solar light as far as I see. I'm crying, please believe me. I'm crying, please believe me. This is no story. This is so wrong. We must be careful. The path is long. I'm crying, please believe me. I'm crying, please believe me. This is no story. This is so wrong. We must be careful. The path is long.
So we played that song because that song was directly influenced by a conversation I had at Stateville. One of the people that made the animation, William Jones, who was the first of the animations, he told me that in his first 3 years, he didn't see the moon. And that was, I had never thought about that. And so I wrote in response, I said, "Love, don't turn from me. Dig me from this hole. Take me to a land where future unfolds, where we can feel sun, where we can feel free, shining solar light as far as I see. Love reveal, darkness and greed. It seeps into the soul, so bring each and every one in from the cold, where we can feel sun, where we can feel free, shining solar light as far as I see." So that animation project, I mean, come on, that last one, you know, the woman has the baby goes behind the bars and she becomes America? I'm like, what? So that's my first semester teaching. I've been there for 10 years. But I leave there, as I said, I'm changed irrevocably. And I'm thinking about the artwork I was doing. I'm thinking about the double Dutch pieces. The people had purchased them, they'd framed them, they put them on the wall, but with what's happening, you know, with I think several months later, Mike Brown gets murdered, Ferguson uprising were happening, and I just needed to switch things up because what I was doing as an artist wasn't doing it for me. And the work in prison set a bar because this was collaborative and it was highlighting work by people that people don't hear from. I was moved and proud of work in a way that I had never been before. So I said, how about, Damon, how about if you don't do work that is less than that? I said, okay, Damon, that's what you want. So I stopped doing artwork and I started focusing a lot on teaching. So I started teaching with then called Art Reach, and I continued to teach at Stateville. And there became a moment where I felt like I needed to address these feelings around race in the United States. And I was thinking of this idea, I mean, you guys are all with me now, I'm sure, like this idea of progress. And I was like, I think I was sold a bill of sale on progress that does not exist. You know? And so I've been, I had lots of bands. I was in Trenchmouth, great band. Look it up. I was in The Eternals, great band, look it up. But I felt like I needed to do something different. I needed to spend some energy, artistic energy, thinking about where we are as a country. I was like, this looks like the 1960s all over again. And this is before Trump was elected the first time. And so I said, okay, I'm gonna do some sound. I'm gonna address this through sound. Okay. There was an exhibition up at, what's the name of that spot, Ryan? Art in These Times. This is so great to just be able to yell out. You know? Most of the time I'd be like, Art in These Times. There was an exhibition, Essence McDowell, is that right? Essence, right? Rachel Kydor and Miriam Kaba had an exhibition. I'm gonna say the first half of the title, because we're in mixed company. It was called, what was it called? Do you remember what it was called, Ryan? Is that the name of it, or was that the subtitle? Right. Yeah, it was Making N-Word. And what the show was a survey of postcards. And the postcards were all these racial stereotypes of black people. There was alligators with welcome written on their tongues, with little black babies walking towards them. Were there any lynching postcards in that show? Maybe not. But they were tough. It was rough. You know, there was a section also that had like kind of contemporary images of Obama that were off the internet that was like the same images that were being passed around, and the show was saying that as soon as the Postal Service came to be, these were the images. This is how you made the N-word across the country, by galvanizing people's thoughts around, you know, lazy, watermelon-eating black people. I saw the show, it was very moving. And I thought, I need to do some kind of sound response to this. So I reached out to Rachel Kydor, who's a friend of mine. She had seen Trenchmouth, I don't know about the rest of y'all. But I said, can I do some programming in this show? Can I do a performance here? And they said, yeah, you can. Let's pick a date. I said, okay, let's pick a date. You know, we picked a date. I don't know if y'all remember, but Facebook was a thing, and they put it on Facebook. Everyone was clicking that like, ooh, Damon's got a thing. He's doing a thing over at the Art in These Times. I'm gonna go. And I was like, nice. I was like, the only problem is, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm not a singer-songwriter. You know, I don't play acoustic guitar. I don't do any of those things. And so I pulled out all these random doodads and knickknacks that I had. I was playing sampler in The Eternals. So I had my sampler, I had little digital delay effects, and I was just trying to figure out, like, do I write a song? Because I thought if I sang a love song in that setting, it would transform it, you know? But I didn't know what I was gonna do, and I was in the car one day with, Jermaine, you can fall asleep. Mm-hmm. You watch, if Tremaine starts agreeing with me randomly, she's asleep. She's gonna be like this, you know that's right. So listen for it. Okay, so I was in the car with my friend Jamie, and this the Pointer Sisters song came on the radio. I know we can make it. I know that we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. We can work it out, right? I'm listening to this song. I was like, we need this song right now. This is the song we need. Like, how come no one's writing this song? I was like, this song sounds like now. And I said, oh, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna call this performance Sounds Like Now. And what I did is I dipped into my record collection where there were people talking about the same issues that we're grappling with, and they've been talking about this forever. Let me see. I might have brought some stuff with me. You know. So, hold on. What you're going to experience here is the smoothest, sloppiest presentation ever. You know what I'm saying? So I grabbed records like this. Elaine Brown, that's funny. Elaine Brown, Seize the Time. The only female Black Panther leader, put out 2 albums, and Emory Douglas did the record covers. Of course, I could not do this today without representing Ella Jenkins, who passed away at 100 recently, but was a huge inspiration to me. Stokely Carmichael, W.E.B. Du Bois, Angela Davis, and records like this. This one was a huge influence on me. This one was just recordings of people in the South talking about voter registration, talking about just difficulties of living life, you know? So I was referring to these records, listening to them, and I found a bunch of different spots that I could highlight. And I would make these like loops, these sample loops, as beds of sound. And I brought turntables, and I would play people talking and over the beds of sound. And what happened on that first show, people sat down on the ground, people closed their eyes, and they listened. I had my friend Damian Thompson come, who's a percussionist. I wrote a song called Sounds Like Now, and we, at the end of the set, we did the song Sounds Like Now. And after the show, people came up to me and talked about what happened during the show. I thought, this is beautiful. I've been playing music for 25 years. No one's ever come to me, up to me after the show talking about the content of the show. So I was like, let me put this in my back pocket. I'm gonna do this again. And the second time I did it, this is special for y'all. I wasn't gonna put this in the talk, but now y'all are getting it. The second show I did was in New Orleans. It was in a friend's living room. A bunch of people came. Living room was packed. It was probably like 15 people. And right before I went, this woman came with her child. They happened to be white, and the only spaces was right in front of the speaker. Now, in my performance, in the thing, I have this amazing record called Guess Who's Coming Home. It was on Black Forum record label. It was an imprint of Motown. Berry Gordy didn't want to do political music, and someone talked him into doing Martin Luther King's speech, and it sold like gangbusters. So he made this imprint called Black Forum that someone else was in charge of, and the Black Forum records are fire. They're incredible. Anyway, Guess Who's Coming Home was interviews of Black Vietnam soldiers in Vietnam and after they get back. It's an incredible record, but there's some strong language in there. There's some strong language about white people in there too. And so when I got to this part, I I'm like, oh, I'm about to put this record on. I was like, I gotta do my set, but I am not trying to traumatize this more small child. But I'm an artist, right? I was like, I gotta do the thing, you know? So I put the needle, and I'm like this, whoa, ah, oh. I'm not making these faces, you know? I'm like, afterwards, the performance is over, people are excited. Matter of fact, y'all, this is the day I met Ben Lamar Gay, member of Black Monument Ensemble. First thing he does is he hugs me after the performance. Anyway, the next day I say to the person that ran, I was like, I was a little worried about that little boy. And she said, so was I. I called his mother. And the mother said, I was a little worried too. And so she told the story that the mother said, I went up to little Jason, I made that name up. I said, is there anything that was bothering you during the set? Did anything make you uncomfortable? And little Jason said, yes, I was uncomfortable. And she's like, oh, you were uncomfortable? What happened? She's like, my jeans. They were so uncomfortable. And she's like, that's it? And she's like, that's it. I was uncomfortable because of my jeans. And I was like, okay, whew, thank goodness. Anyway. That was a side. That was an aside just for y'all. As a matter of fact, this whole thing is an aside just for y'all. So this sound project was happening. I felt really, I was really kind of excited about it because I was dealing with the archive. It like opened me up. I was a person that already bought tons of records, and now I had an excuse to buy more records. So I would go into the spoken word section and find all these gems that were left behind that people weren't listening to, and I'd be able to utilize them and bring them back to the present, you know, bring them back in a way that people are absorbing them with the contemporary lens. I thought this was fascinating. So I was doing these performances, and Krista Franklin, super talented artist, Chicago artist, poet, was working with the Museum of Contemporary Art and asked me if I would do a performance with this organization called Move Me Soul, a West Side dance company. And so my job, which I took, was to, we were gonna make a piece in response to Merce Cunningham on the exhibition that was at the MCA. And so my job was to do the sound for this piece. The young ladies I was working with, West Side, black young ladies, they were doing the choreography and I was making the sound. And so I was pulling from everywhere, all of the Black American archive. And I had Duke Ellington, it had Kerry James Marshall, it had this song from Car Wash in it, you know, Norman Whitfield. And it was like a beautiful experience, but like, I remember at the time, I was at a conference and someone was talking about how music heals, you know? I think maybe it was around Kendrick Lamar's, what's that song? We gonna be all right, you know? Everyone's like, oh man, this is so, you know, this heals. And I was like, music don't heal. I was like, best case scenario, you're just empathizing. You got someone to empathize, you know? Like you feeling heartbroken, you put on Billie Holiday, you're like, she's sad like me, you know? Maybe it will move some chi, you know, help push the chi through, you know? But it don't heal. You know what I'm saying? Beyonce ain't healing me. But working on this piece, right, with Move Me Soul, there was this one part in the set where three of them would line up next to each other, like in a line, and then do this beautiful move where they'd like lift their leg up and then like touch the ground and then come back. Great. every single time we rehearsed it, they messed it up. And when we were at the MCA doing the piece, I was working the controls. I'd gotten better at my thing. I'd gotten some good samplers and some effects and all these other things. I got rid of the turntables. I happened to look up right when that part happened, right when they were going, and they nailed it. I got goosebumps. I felt like crying out of like joy and happiness. And I was like, damn, I think I got healed. I was like, oh man, I gotta change my whole thesis. But also what happened was I was like, I gotta put this in my back pocket. These artists, these dancers, remind me of the Double Dutch girls from 5, 6 years earlier. And I was like, I gotta do this, you know? And as I continued to do my archival research and buy these records, I started listening to more and more gospel music. Because gospel music is, was the soundtrack to the civil rights movement. It was where our leaders came from. It was like our gathering place, And the songs were translatable to the movement. I started to think, man, it feels like the civil rights era, I was like, well, I used to think, what would I do if I was alive back then? So I started to say, what would I do now? And I said, maybe gospel, let me think about this. I said, in issues around race in America, maybe we need black voices in unison and harmony to talk about it. So what I want to do is I want to put a group together of singers that will sing about, I'll write the music. Okay, all right, this is going to work. Oh, it took me like 2 years to get this together. You know what I'm saying? I tried to get grants. I tried to do all these things, I came close too. I don't know if y'all have, try to apply for grants. I got to that round where they call you and then they talk to you for a while and then you don't get it. Anyway, I applied for this residency at the Hyde Park Arts Center. I applied for this year-long residency. They gave me the 3-month one. No disrespect if anyone has the 3-month one. But I was like, they don't know me. I'm going to utilize the hell out of this space. And then they're going to give me more time. And so I was like, I'm going to use this time also to put this group together. So the only idea I had, I was like, I don't know how to get a hold of singers. I'm in punk bands. Where am I supposed to find singers at, And I decided I would call or reach out and email Josephine Lee. I got it, right? I didn't have to ask you, right, Jermaine? I got it. Josephine Lee, who is the executive director of the Chicago Children's Choir. I don't know nothing. I just emailed her, and I said, I got this idea. This is what I want to do. I got the electronic version of Crickets. And I wrote again. I think that she wrote me back, and then crickets, crickets, crickets. And then at some point, she was like, yeah, we can meet. So we met up. I told her my idea. I was like, I want to put together like a mini choir. I want to write this music about this because gospel, black voices, and unison and harmony. And she said, okay, cool, let's do it. This can be a collaboration with the Chicago Children's Choir. I said, good. So I went back to the Hyde Park Arts Center. I said, I'm going to do this show. I'm going to open up my door. Let's pick a date. We picked a date. We put it on Facebook. Bam. Then crickets, 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 crickets. And I got a hold of Josephine, and I was like, I got this date coming up. I don't know what I'm going to do. And Josephine wisely said, you might want to not use children. And I said, okay. And they said, because then there's parents and rehearsals and stuff like that. And I was like, she was like, I can give you a list of like some adults. I was like, okay. And then she said, but you're gonna have to pay them. I was like, dang. I'm trying to pay people. So anyway, she gave me a list of 5 people. Tremaine was one of the original 5. Tremaine is here. Yeah, Tremaine. And they came to my spot. I had someone like write out the music. I know I write music, you know. And they came, and I think they thought I was crazy. Did you think I was crazy, Tremaine? She's gonna say no. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. They thought I was crazy. But we rehearsed these songs, and Damien came, the percussionists came, we rehearsed the songs. And then when we played the first time, it clicked. And it was beautiful. Like, I could see it. There's footage of it online. And when the final song is done, you see everyone in the group just start to smile. And I was like, this is what I'm talking about, you know? So back to Sun Ra. I haven't mentioned him in a few minutes. But when thinking about the group, I was looking to groups like Sun Ra, Eddie Gale, the Freedom Singers, Voices of East Harlem. These were the groups that I was like, here's a template. Archie Shepp has a song called Attica Blues. Max Roach did some work with choirs. And I was listening to all this stuff, thinking about what a group could be. I come from a punk background. There's like 4 dudes. Everyone is like, we're rehearsing too much, and we're playing twice a month. I was like, I'm not trying to do all that. And so just thinking about the intentions of the group. And I'm not paying attention to time, so I have no idea where we are in the schedule, but I'm gonna play you a little bit of music from a record or 2, just to give you a little taste of the things I was listening to when I was creating this group, okay?
I'm a man of constant sorrow. I've been troubled all my days, and I'm going back to Southwest Georgia, where I've been partly raised. All around this world, I'm bound to ramble through the snow, wind and rain. I'm headed for that northern railway. Maybe I'll take the very next train. Your friends say I'm a stranger, that you see my face no more. But here's the one promise I am giving: see you on the other shore. You don't think I love you, honey, look what a fool I've been. If you don't think I'm sinking, honey, look what a hole I'm in. I'm a man of constant sorrow. I've been troubled all my days. I'm going back to Southwest Georgia, where I've been hardly raised.
So that was Bernice Johnson Reagan. So, song of will, and it remains forever influential to me. Maybe I shouldn't play it. You know, I'm giving away the secrets. Jermaine, you ready?
Yes.
A song of will to be, will to know, will to do, will to see. A song of will. A song for you. A song of will to be strong, will to live long, will to be right on wrong. A song for those who try. When things get rough and they can't take it, keep on fighting and try to make it. Never let any one thing break it. A song for those who try. A song for we who must do or die. A song of will to be, will to know, will to do, will to see. A song of will. A song for you.
Okay. Lastly, yeah, you can give that. Lastly, Sun Ra Orchestra. Just cause, you got to. Oh, I got it. Ah.
Heard the latest news from Neptune, 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 Neptune.
From planet So when putting on the first Black Monument performance, we had Move Me Soul perform, but we always have a guest soloist as well. So this is Anna Martine Whitehead guesting.
I'm in hope that I would get in a good place to live, and I believe I am. Well, I'm just got good hopes anyway. Of course, I don't believe it's getting much worse than it is with me right now. It couldn't get much worse, so if it did, I wouldn't be living at all. All right, so we're gonna play a little bit more for you, so y'all can come up, but the first couple times we played, we didn't have a name. And I think the second time we played, I had to come up with a name. We were in the midst of a lot of conversations. Hold on. We were in the midst of a lot of conversations about taking down Southern statues and flags. And I was really giving that some thought. Is that something that we need to do? That was the question. You know, should we be taking down these monuments and replacing them? And I thought, I'm just checking. I thought, maybe we don't need to replace these things, because why do we need to make more marble and stone? Like, maybe the monuments that Black people have made are song and dance, storytelling, visual work. And I thought we kind of do that with this group. So that's when I came up with the name Black Monument Ensemble. And so we're gonna do a number called The Colors That You Bring. Oh, by the way, the work that's on the screen is my own work, unless it's Emory Douglas or Kerry James Marshall. Okay. See, this appeared to be working. Let's try this. Hold on.
adventuresome. I don't think I'm just going to stop to sit down. I don't necessarily mean singing. I'm not a lecturer. I'm not a writer. I'm just. I guess I'm a performer. But I feel creative. I feel I need to be around people. I like it now. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm not going to stop. Well, but I'm not going to stop. Well, but I'm not going to stop.
Sound of wheels, the colors you bring, the voice of movement, a sound that breathes, learn words with all I still believe the break of dawn still cares. I still believe in us. Through time and space, one step beyond you will be there. I still believe in us. I still believe the break of dawn still cares. I still believe in us. One time and face, one step beyond you will be there. Last time. I still believe in us.
Time is running out. I think that it is running out for people who cannot see themselves as being a part of the human experience and the new human endeavor.
Right. What he's saying is that you must use the moment in depth because you can't stretch it out on either end. And that time is just the difference between knowing now and knowing nothing. Because if you know now fully, it's past, present, and future.
Because sometimes what happens is you get so caught up in the daily rigors of running and jumping and racing that you don't have time to see that you're not going anywhere. Let's bring the drums back.
Picture all we know. Shift the line down the river's flow. From gray to gold. Listen close to the stories told. And we know our scenery.
We
Okay. We are at time. Well, we're going to do two more things for you, actually. So I'm going off the thing. I talk too much. We're going to do Beyond, and then I'm going to do We Are Our People. Okay? All right. Thank you all for being here. We got a little bit more for you. Here we go. Wait, Tony, hold on. Once again, I'm Damon Locks. This is the Black Monument Ensemble. Dana Hall, Eva Supreme, Jermaine Parker, Monique Golden, Angel Badawas, and Boredu Ahmed. Oh, wait, y'all don't have to leave because I'm introducing the end. Oh, y'all gonna miss Tremaine.
Y'all gonna miss out.
All right, Tremaine, let me hear you.
Midnight blue was here. Tomorrow trembles in fear. We're past the limit, yes. Way past the limit. Way past the limit. The thunder's echoing song, nothing's where it belongs. It sings out loud and clear, but only shadows can hear. We're past the limit, way past the limit, oh yeah. We're past the limit, beyond. Midnight blue was here. Tomorrow trembles in fear, and we still do as we please until our hearts cease. We're past the limit, we're past the limit, oh yeah. We're past the limit, beyond.
Okay, I'm going to leave you guys with these final words. This is a piece called We Are Our People. How to keep moving while others don't matter, and I don't really matter in the whole scheme of things. When people have gone missing, or worse, they're just not existing, they're simply gone. Threat is the framework, it's the justification. For death and incarceration, we try to keep the smoke at bay. But understand, these are people. Yes, they are our people, because we are our people, and we all should survive. In the horror movie, we expect there are losses. We accept there are losses, and the killer must kill. Our goal is endurance, to survive to the credits, and hope that they let us. But that's not how things should be done. So when you hear of that woman on the south side of Chicago that no one has heard from for several days, when you hear of the people crushed by military destruction with weapons bombarding and no hope of escape, when you hear of that person lost to the system serving a sentence that extends way past their last day, when you hear of the people in desperate need of assistance and they just keep on shouting and no attention is paid, understand, these are people. Yes, they are our people, because we are our people, and we all should survive. So, how to keep moving while others don't matter, and I don't really matter in the whole scheme of things? Can you keep playing on while the tape is rewinding, and the ache is reminding the pain of terrible things? It's impossible to process this work in progress. It's impossible to process this work in progress. We must make collective effort to progress to the next stage. So move with intention and choose a direction to treat the infection, because we breathe that smoke every day. And understand, these are people. Yes, they are our people, because we are our people, and we all should survive. Understand, these are people. Yes, they are our people, because we are our people, and we should all stay alive. Thank you, good night.